Hi teacher friends, this is Carolina Carner and I wanted to give you some quick tips and tricks for digital learning or immersive learning. I teach a lot of PD during the summer for elementary, middle school, and high school teachers, and this is one thing I always tell my teachers when they're in the workshop. Pick only a couple things that you can start off with. Don't feel like you have to do every single thing that's in the video that I'm talking about. You'll drive yourself crazy. So just start off with maybe using Google Classroom if you've never used it before. Put a Google Doc in there and hop into a document with the students on the classwork tab. That could be your start. You don't have to do everything at once. I would suggest doing something like Zoom so that you have face-to-face time with your students so that you can answer any of the questions that they might have about the learning that's going on in your online classroom on Google Classroom. And then if you're feeling really ambitious after that, and by the way, with those video conferencing tools like Zoom that you could be using with your students, there are tons and tons of great videos that different people are making online like me to kind of help you through that process step by step, like how would you implement it with your students. And then the digital tools that I'm talking about like Edpuzzle and Quizlet and Google Forms and Seesaw, those are all amazing tools. Don't feel like you have to use every single one of those things at the same time. Don't try to implement everything all together. You'll drive yourself crazy. So it took lots and lots of time for me to implement all those things in my classroom. So I would just start off with a good one. You just have to look at it and see what fits your content the best. So come along with me and I will get you started with your digital learning in your new digital classroom. And if you need any help, just reach out to me on Nerdy Teacher Tech Talk on YouTube, or you can reach out to me on Twitter at Carner Carolina, and I can try to help you out the best I can through this process. So here we go. Okay, so this is my first tip for distance learning. How would I start everything off? What would my online classroom be like? Well, first of all, I would say create a Google Classroom. That is like step one. Everything that you are going to be like giving out to your students should be posted in Google Classroom. So the kids know where to look. So I'm going to show you just the basics, like how to create a class really fast. It's so simple and user-friendly. So I'm just going to put distance learning. And you can fill in the rest of the sections, but this is my example class that I'm creating. And it takes a second to create a class. Okay, and once your class is created, you're going to see things like the stream, classwork, people, and grades. Okay, so the two best things about having an immersive classroom using Google Classroom is that you can post lots of different activities to the stream, or you can post activities to the classwork tab for your students to do. And then these things, like if you're posting something to the classwork tab, then their work is actually in Google Classroom for you to view. You can actually hop in their document with them while they're working on specific assignments if you assign a Google Doc or something like that. So like I said, Google Classroom is step one. This is your new classroom if you are doing digital learning. Which digital tools do I like for distance learning? Well, here's one. This is Quizlet. I just post the class codes for my students in Google Classroom. If you're looking for a great formative assessment tool where your kids can play a little quiz game and then you're collecting formative assessment data on how they're currently doing on a particular concept, Quizlet is an awesome tool to use. You can see in here that I use Quizlet all the time as well. You can actually go in and find activities from other teachers through Discover. Some of them are aligned to state standards. They have tons and tons of stuff from the state that I'm from, which is Texas. But they have all of these different games that kids can play, and all the while you can actually collect the data and figure out where your kids are struggling and either provide extensions or remediation for your students based off of how they're doing. They also can be assigned anchor activities as well to do after they play a game. You can also use this digital tool. It's great for reviewing and for practice. Quizlet, vocabulary practice for my students in Google Classroom. I love using Seesaw, and you can see the directions that you could get from Seesaw that you can actually post to Google Classroom for your students. And it gives them 2 different sets of directions dependent on whether or not they've used Seesaw before or whether they're new to Seesaw. Edpuzzle will sync up with Google Classroom as well, and it will give the assignment to all your students, and it will also, depending on what kind of Edpuzzle quiz you give, it will grade assignments for you, or you can have open-ended answer choices, which you can go in and physically mark as right or wrong. But this is another amazing tool that you can put into Google Classroom that will actually grade for you. Edpuzzle is so cool because you can take videos and you can actually stop the video as the students are progressing through, and you can ask them questions to check for understanding, and you can actually see when they are watching the videos how far they're in the video, if they've gone to 100%. If you make it into multiple choice questions, it'll actually provide you with a grade at the end of the activity as well on how they did. So this is just a great tool to, you could introduce a unit, you could do it as a formative assessment, but an awesome tool to use for digital learning. Interactive websites are an amazing tool to use with your students, and you can post the links to get to the activities on Google Classroom and the codes that they need to get into your specific class. So Explore Learning Gizmos is one great website that you can use for digital learning for math and science simulations. PhET is great for physics, chemistry, biology, earth science, and math. And here's the PhET website. And then here's Florida Students, and you can see like how many tutorials they have for English language arts, mathematics, science, and social studies right here. This is a phenomenal site as well. And these are just a couple of the amazing resources that you can put just straight into Google Classroom, which is your learning management system. You can see right here that I have tons and tons of Google Forms that I use on a regular basis with my students, and the magic of Google Forms is that you can make it into a quiz. It's a quick snapshot of how your students are doing in class, and then you can redesign your instruction based off of how they're doing on the Google form. So I've given you a lot of information on lots of different digital tools, but how am I going to actually be able to interact with my students in the classroom? Well, the way that I plan on being able to interact with my students is through Zoom. It is so incredibly user-friendly. It will become my virtual interface with my students so that we can actually be in our virtual space together, see each other, be able to talk about concepts that we're learning about. I can assign assignments. I can actually in Zoom put students into groups, and I'm really excited to use this product with my students. I haven't used it yet, but it's everything that I've ever dreamed of with a digital tool for using for students in a classroom. So I'm super, super, super excited to use Zoom with my students as a digital tool. And I will definitely make videos and post them to Twitter as I go through this process. I know it should be interesting and entertaining for everybody as I fumble through how to use Zoom with my students. I'll tell you lots of do's and don'ts when I get done. So as you can see, I've gone through and I've given you lots of tips and tricks of great digital tools to use in the classroom. And remember that Google Classroom is a place to house all of these different amazing tech tools. Your kids will know where to go and they will know what to do, because this will be your virtual online classroom, and then you have tons and tons of different tools to help you make this a successful classroom. So please feel free to reach out to me on YouTube, on my Nerdy Teacher Tech Talk channel, or you can also find me on Twitter at Carner Carolina, and have an amazing day.